I book over 1,000 qualified sales appointments with B2B prospects every single year. In this video, I'm going to share the 3 biggest skills that you need in order to convert more prospects with cold outbound. Now let's dive into it. So the first skill that we have is simply building offers. So I'm going to give a couple examples here and a before and an after situation, right? So we had a client that came to us. They were running cold email. They were an agency client. They were doing it on their own. They were not seeing any success. They were going outbound to a target audience that regularly gets cold emails, but they weren't able to get any interested replies. So I dug into exactly what they were doing in their whole process and found out that their offer was something that wasn't quite good enough. So we worked to actually fix it. So before we talk about how we fixed it, let's talk about what it was. So this was simply a recurring offer. So they were selling an ongoing long-term 12-month contract into their target audience, and this wasn't going anywhere. They were working mainly with their new clients based on referrals and word of mouth. And so there's built-in trust there. That allows you to sell a longer term or recurring deal. And when you're selling to a cold audience, you don't have the advantage of the trust already built in. So you need to counteract for that lack of trust by creating an offer that's going to actually be attractive to somebody who doesn't know you, they don't like you, they don't trust you. There's a lot of risk associated with transacting with you. And so what you need to do is create something that's solving a pain and then reduces their risk. So what we did instead was create an offer with a guarantee and a one-time service delivery. So in this case, we're delivering one specific output. So in this case, it was a setup, and they guaranteed a specific result in that time frame. So this allowed us to go out to the market. More people are actually responding because this was something that was easier to digest. There's a specific outcome associated with this. And again, there's a guarantee. I know there's a lot of thoughts around guarantees and do you need them? Do you not need them? In this particular case, we used one and it did actually work. As you get more social proof, guarantees are less required, but because they're a little bit newer, that's what we did. And it ended up closing 4 new deals in the next 4 months. So that's the benefit of creating an offer that is going to be optimized for cold conversions. Now that was the first skill. Let's talk about the second skill. It's going to be list building. So the old way of list building is pretty simple. Using a tool that everyone has heard of. If you've been in any sort of outbound, you've probably used this tool, Apollo, or you've probably used ZoomInfo if you worked at an enterprise of some sort, right? But the problem with them is their targeting around their filtering can be spotty. So for example, we had a client. They came to us, they were selling into the home services marketplace. They had a list that they thought was 10,000 leads. We actually did some diligence. We looked through it and found that at least 20 to 30% of those leads in their list were not actually going to be valid, meaning they weren't the right fit in terms of the company type, and they weren't actually the right fit in terms of the actual title that we'll be reaching out to. Now, this is important to note because when you use a tool like Apollo or ZoomInfo, there's a number of different filters that you can use. And in this specific case, the filters just weren't totally accurate. And this isn't anyone's fault. A lot of these data providers are pulling this data down from self-reported places like on LinkedIn. But the problem with that is that when that data is incorrect, then you're going to be doing outreach to the wrong person. So the new way to do this and build lists is going to be using Clay to actually create a tighter and a much more focused list. And then you can even do some personalizations on top of that. But going back to the example that I shared before, once we took that list, we cut out down 30% of it. And you might think, oh, there's less people, you're going to have less results because volume is just the answer. In today's world where spam filters are getting more and more advanced, if you hit up people who aren't a good fit, they're going to mark you as spam. And so when that happens, that's going to have a total negative effect on the rest of your campaign, even if those people are good fits. So what you need to do is use AI prompts to score and filter your lists even more granular, and that will have a resulting in more conversions. So for example, this client, they gave us that big list. We cut out 30% of it. Before, they were getting a handful of positive replies a week. When we started working with them, we, again, cut the list back. It went from 1 or 2 replies per week to 1 to 2 replies per day. Now that's a 20, now that's like a 5 times increase, which is pretty substantial, and has helped them bring in whale clients. So focusing on your list building, not just going and targeting the right ICP, that's important, but making sure that every single company and every single prospect is actually a good fit. Now let's talk about the third one. The third skill is using lead magnets. So the old way is most people who are selling with cold email are just pushing for a meeting. It's going to be the lazier, the more simple way. It's going to have some success if you know that you have a really great offer. But the problem is most markets are now sophisticating further, right? So for example, if you're just going out to the market, you're asking them for meetings, your offer might be good enough to actually get those conversions. But in many markets that are sophisticating, there's more email volume, their inboxes are more crowded, you need to find a way to stand out. So a way to do that is by evoking reciprocity. So in any sort of relationship building, there is a give and a take. And building trust over time is setting an expectation and then meeting that expectation. When you're just going out to somebody who's saying, hey, take a meeting with me, they have no real reason to actually take that meeting with you. They don't know you, they don't like you, like I said before. And so we use lead magnets to cover this gap. So like I said before, what most people are doing is simply just like pushing to a call, right? And so we had a client who was working with us selling into healthcare technology, and most of their calls to action were just relating to pushing directly into a call. They were getting maybe a meeting, maybe 2 meetings a month, and things were going okay for them. They came to us, they wanted to increase those conversions. So after going through and identifying their funnel and what could be fixed, lead magnets was a very easy leverage point that we focused on. So what they were doing before, no lead magnets, no just pure play book and meeting calls to action, they started working with us to use lead magnets. So a lead magnet is simply anything that gives value, that is potentially personalized. Could be a video, could be text, it could be both. Ideally, it's both. And the reason why this is important is because it gives the prospect the opportunity to consume it wherever they're at. So if they're in the car, they could potentially listen to it. If they're sitting at their desk, they could potentially watch it or read it, right? So you're covering all your bases there, which increases your conversion rates. So again, the new way here, the focus is using lead magnets, and specifically, like we'll say the best case is going to be like a Loom video, or you can have something that's like very high value, that is like a step-by-step guide or a checklist, something that, again, teaches them how to do something specifically relating to your process. If you can do that, then you're going to see a massive increase in your conversion rates. And so, for example, this client, they had 1-2 meetings a month. We started using lead magnets. Not only did more people start actually replying to those emails, but more people were actually like engaging with the lead magnets, and further, more people are actually showing up and the calls were warmer, right? So you go from just pushing to a call where maybe a couple of people are ready to take one to, oh, I'm interested in seeing some more information, specific lead magnet, to actually getting those people warmed up and interested in your offer and actually converting them into a meeting. So this specific example, they went from 1 to 2 to 8+ meetings a month. So these are the 3 big levers that you can pull to generate more results with your cold email campaigns. Obviously, you're going to need to have your deliverability unlocked. You're going to need to have your system set up. You're going to need to have inbox management, fast reply times. Those are all very, very important. But if you can focus on these 3 levers, you're going to have a good time. So this is the video. If you found some value in it, I encourage you to book a call in. We can chat about how we can help you out. Otherwise, I will chat with you next video. Peace.